Up, nerds. I am trying to put this together in the most simplest way possible with the biggest macros that if from a 40,000 foot view of these macros, it may be plain as day what is happening. My inner soul is still rumbling from the booing. Oh, they weren't booing. They were saying Trump. Was that not a straight up cacophony? The lock him up chants, louder depending on what section the video they're showing you from, and that's not an accident? That the boos from one part of the stadium would be louder than boos from another part of the stadium? That in there were actually people cheering, of course? Did they? We all know the Indianapolis Colts pump in crowd noise. If you had to control a narrative, would you leave something like this to chance? What if all of a sudden that dude shows up, puts his hand out the window, and that place erupts like a Trump rally? The MSM could never undo it. Never in a million years could anybody undo the power of the meme of a stadium in Washington, D.C. coming together to support the president of the United States, one of their fellow citizens in the city that they live in. So what do you have? You have people saying that this is proof. This is proof that his presidency is in dire trouble. And how many arenas that big have we seen him crush time and time and time again? But this one arena you're going to use to be the equal balance of what we're seeing? Okay, you can take that for the reality if you choose to. Do we know if extra crowd noise was pumped in there? We do know that they have to control that narrative. And we do know that the Indianapolis Colts pump in crowd noise. So don't put it past any of this because it's a production. And why does this matter? Because all the Democrats are going to point at it as proof that they're right. And Joe Sixpack at home, who can't afford $1,000 or $2,000 for a World Series ticket, who even though he's made a $4,500 income increase in 3 years, still couldn't afford to go, is now watching people, the elites, who tell him how to live, who tell him what to say, how to say it, what to believe, and he's an enemy if you disagree. That guy's watching the elites boo a president that is at the ground floor of this guy having $4,500 more dollars in 3 years than he had before. And that's really the bigger meme that's going to come out of this. And I'm going to keep this in the macro and try to keep this as short as possible. Now, was it a leak? Was it a hack? How long have we been messing with other people's elections and people have been messing with our elections? You want to agree on a round number? How about 45 years? Let's say for 45 years, every country has been equally spying on the other country. How about that? Human spies, wiretaps, campaign interference, whether we're using pop culture, whether we're using the backing of a former president, whether we're using movie narratives to slowly get some election going in some far-off land, another Arab Spring to create, or whatever the fuck we're behind. And so here we are in 2016, and the administration says we have evidence of Russian hacking of the 2016 election. Because it's been going on the whole time. We've just agreed it's been going on for 45 years. All of a sudden, it's an issue. Now, it's such an issue that no campaign is talked to. They don't go up and say, hey, apparently the Russians are trying to gain access to our election. So be aware of any Russians who may be saddling up to your campaign, maybe offering you something for access to your campaign. You need to be aware of that. And we'll tell Jill Stein, we'll tell Bernie, we'll tell Hillary, we're going to tell fucking Mitt Romney, we're going to tell Cruz, Rubio, Jeb Bush. They didn't tell anybody. There was provable hacking going on, but nothing going on about the hacking. So like I said, from the beginning, the best, and I'm going to keep this, and I said, we're going to keep it simple, 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 because we're so far past where this thing got absurd in the beginning. And where it got absurd in the beginning is I'm going to go to the Trump Tower meeting. Back when the media said that the walls were coming down, that the administration was in a panic, Trump was in the last seconds of his presidency, and that this was proof of his connection and complicity with the Russian government. And that's what they had the media sell you. And how it started was you had the Alpha Bank sending what they said was Russian information, that a Russian computer was pinging a computer in Trump Tower when it was sending Condé Nast vacation emails. And they knew that they were Condé Nast vacation emails, but they call it a connection from the Russians. They need it. Then they tell the media, then the media tells you, and you believe, because you already wanted to believe it, that Trump's working with the Russians. That's that piece of it. There's one gimmick. They just have to create something that doesn't exist and make you believe it exists, and then in the new reality, they can advance forward. It's one thing. And you would think maybe that a campaign that was bucking the trends might know that there was one gimmick at play. And were they watching this happen? You wouldn't think of that if you believed that orange people were bad, if you believed that other Americans were deplorables, if you believed that these people were beneath you, as you booed the person that they elected from your $1,000 and $2,000 seats. Joe Sixpack sees that for fucking what it is. All right? It's elites again saying that they're better and their thoughts are better than anything you could ever come up with. And he knows they're going to take his freedom away. They absolutely know it. And again, we're staying at the Trump Tower. We're staying at the Trump Tower, okay? What do you get next? Rob Goldstone's email. Inside of the email is the crime itself. Again, all they need you to do is sell you past the sale. If you can think past the sale and they hide a crime inside of the sale and you're continuing the conversation, like we saw with the Sondland and the fucking text going back and forth, here's the thing I need you to agree to. No. Well, here's the same thing I need you to agree to. No, we're told you're not doing it. Here's the third time. Fucker, no quid pro quo. Does it not seem like the same thing? So here's Rob Goldstone's email, all right? And they say Rob Goldstone, oh my God, why is Rob Goldstone perfect? You know why? Because it connects him. I have so many pieces of paper here. It connects him to what? Trump has a fucking, he's got beauty pageants. He's a cad. He likes hot chicks, Stormy Daniels, all the salacious shit that you need to fucking sell this guy, right? And the FBI doesn't have access to this email. They don't go and question this guy. Hey, why are you trying to fucking get one of our citizens to fucking get up on a deal? Why didn't they? Why didn't they? There's 2016 election interference going on, and nobody told anybody. Remember the first time we heard about election interference was Hillary Clinton telling us that Donald Trump would not accept the results of the 2016 election. So that means because he wasn't going to accept the results, that it's okay for her not to accept the results of the election. So he stayed to the rules. He accepted the results of the election. She continued to not accept the results of the election. This is the move for them. This is Alinsky's rules for radicals. This is the leading accusation. She knows fucking one of her defenses is she's going to say he made all this shit up. And here she is. First mover, first accusation. He will not accept the results of the 2016 election. So look we're 3 years past the news source, but the conversation we're having right now is provable because it happened in 2016 when they were trying to pull this bullshit over. And it's one gimmick. It's one way to do this. All right? So the thing is, if they say that there's a Russian pinging the computer and you want to believe it, you're going to fucking believe it. He's working with the Russians. I knew it. And they know that. The same way they know that if they create a false story that he's golfing during the fucking Baghdadi operation, that you're going to believe that too. Because you want to believe it, but it's provably false. And now we see that it had 14,000, 40,000 retweets. Tom Arnold retweeted it. A bunch of people retweeted it. It was patently false and easily provably false. But that's how they do it. All it takes is somebody creating a lie and getting it out there. They do the fucking wraparound smear like Pelosi taught us. And now everyone believes it. It doesn't matter if it's true or not. That's what's happening. One gimmick. So let's stay at the tower, okay? The walls are closing in. It's guilty. There's seconds left in the Trump presidency, right? And what happens next? You have, I don't know. You have this. You have the fact that the rank and file public was sold, that Americans are deplorable, that the Zimpf effect was used for the words big, dumb, bad, orange, red. The simplest words that people use the most used in the language, which means it has a deeper meme impact, which is why those words, and even the created word, MAGA, that's again is another powerful a word to use to persuade, all right? But if you think these guys are dumb, then you're not going to even fathom that they might have been watching people trying to set them up, all right? So now you got the Rob Goldstone email with the fucking crime in it. It's plain as day. They're like, what the fuck is this? And who do they send over? Natalia Vedelinskaya, that piece of ass. That Valerie Bertinelli offshoot. And let me tell you about her, because we all know she was at the meeting. Undeniable. Was she not at the meeting? Was that not proof of Russian collusion? Was that not proof that he was working complicit with the Russians? Because that satyr has a fucking apartment in his building? Because Condé Nast was sending emails to Trump Tower? Because the media wanted you to believe it. And let's talk about Vedelinskaya's, let's talk about her itinerary. Before the Trump Tower meeting, the day before, she meets with Glenn Simpson from Fusion GPS, one of the ground floor creators of the Russian dossier, used for this same complicit thing to make you believe that he was connected to the Russians. Now provably false from jump, all right? And so she meets with this guy, and then she goes to the Trump Tower meeting, all right? And from there, she goes and has another meeting the next day, back with Glenn Simpson, okay? And then after that, she goes to the premiere of a documentary called The Magnitsky Hoax, which is showed at the Newseum in Washington, D.C., and it's been banned around the world because if they can get a lawsuit in there, they will sue anyone who wants to show the movie. She's there for that premiere. And a couple days later, she is testifying in, I believe, the Prevezon case, where it is found out that she has lied about being part of the Russian government. She was trying to purport that she was an operative of the Russian government in another case and was found to be provably false. So when they say they met with a Russian government official, again, it was a lie. She was never a Russian government official. Go look at the Prevezon case, all right? What is interesting about this, all right, is that the dossier itself, remember the Steele dossier? How do we find out about it first, right? McCain, he walks it in. McCain, and guess what? He has to. He has to, right? Because if he doesn't, if he sits on it or he ignores it, then he's going to be complicit in helping Trump. Or they're going to say he only held on it to do the GOP. So what he has to do is he has to move it up the chain as a senator. But what he does is he moves it up the chain. He really gives it validity. And he really gives it weight. And it was never supposed to be released. BuzzFeed was never supposed to release this thing in its entirety. But they thought because the walls were closing in, because of the Goldstone email, because of Vedelinskaya, because they believe fucking Trump's dumb and they didn't realize that they were fucking being setting up. He was setting them up. When he said Obama tapped his wires, he fucking knew it. When he said you'll be in jail, he fucking knew it. All right, know this, reframe your new reality, and especially going back to the simplest thing that we can prove, the horseshit that is the Trump Tower meeting. Okay, and that was the first thing, and they said, no, this is proof. This is proof. This is all we need, and the walls are closing in. She meets with Glenn Simpson, goes to the tower, meets with Glenn Simpson, does the Magnitsky hoax fucking premiere, and then testifies to the fact that she's not a Russian fucking agent and spends some time in jail. Now, there is a defamation case that is connected to her case where a gentleman says that his lawyer, Sergei Magnitsky, was murdered by the Russian government, that his lawyer was working on a corruption case to get tax money which had been stolen by the Russian government, and he wrote this into a book, and the book was given to John McCain, who walked it in with the authority of a Senate, and they created a law called the Magnitsky Act, where they can go and seize your funds if you are doing something that whatever they deem is illegal and action. A work of fiction, a law, a work of fiction, the Russia hoax. John McCain carried both. What are the fucking odds? Weirder than that is that in the author of this book, when pressed in a deposition, they say, sir, Sergei Magnitsky's not a lawyer. And he goes, I don't have any information. In fact, go watch the Bill Browder deposition and watch it for yourself. Okay? His words are there and you can watch him say it. They say basically roundabout, me just paraphrasing, he's not a lawyer. And he goes, well, he's my lawyer. They go, yeah, but he's not a lawyer. He never went to law school. I don't have any information about that. Well, we know he didn't go. And he's not a lawyer, but he's my lawyer. But he's not a lawyer. And therein is this divide. Can someone be your lawyer if they're not a lawyer? And so what happens in this case is that this work of fiction, where his lawyer is murdered because the businesses were stolen and the tax money was stolen, none of that's been proven. Not a single thing has been proven. All right, beyond that, it's the same gimmick as attaching Marina Butina to the NRA. Again, we're going to approach you. If you accept our approach, you are now complicit in what we're trying to entrap you with, okay? It's as simple as that, all right? Remember, the dossier was supposed to be sealed. It was supposed to be secret. They were supposed to be able to say things like, government officials with sources close to information connected to the Russian government can provably prove that Donald Trump is connected to the Russian government. And if you didn't know who any of these people were because their names weren't available, you'd never know. And all they would do is keep this very vague thing going. And what would happen? The people would believe it. It's a one-trick pony, all right? It's Lucy pulling the fucking football out from Charlie Brown, all right? It was collusion, yoink. Obstruction, yoink. White nationalists, yoink. By the way, white nationalists, 0.03% of the fucking population is not a movement. And if it was a movement, Eric Swalwell would still be running for fucking president. How about that, all right? The fine people on both sides hoax, yoink. Stormy Daniels, yoink. 25th Amendment, yoink. It's one gimmick. It's one gimmick over and over, create a work of fiction, and hope the media can sell it for you. Because the people who want to believe it are going to believe it anyways. And I truly believe in my heart of hearts when he said, I'm going to lock you up, he had the goods. And when he said he'd fucking tap my wires, he had the goods. Because this whole time, he won the campaign. There's still no meeting to loop him in about Russian interference moving further on into his presidency. There's no meeting about that. They hold that information back. Comey, Clapper, Brennan, Page, Biden, Obama, and Susan Rice decide to hold information back. Comey then goes to entrap Flynn. Okay, they edit the 302 to make the guy look fucking guilty. Again, a work of fiction used to create and convict somebody. If he doesn't take the plea, it's just attempted. Because he took the plea, it's actual. This is a now real crime, all right? And what we're going to get is in America And hopefully what's happening right now is the best Americans are providing the most liberty, freedom, justice, and safety for all of us and maintaining our rights in their fullness as the best Americans would do for the best of America. Seemingly the people that keep selling you all these lies, they want a different America. They want their America, not the America that you grew up with, all right? And really what it comes down to is that very simple thing. And if you disagree with anything that they say, they call you a conspiracy theorist. Again, we're still at the Trump Tower meeting, which we already know is provably false. And now we have fucking a big giant macro of one guy carrying two works of fiction, and one that creates a fucking 2.5-year, $35 million investigation, and the other one that creates the Magnitsky Law. What? How is that? How are the same players involved in the same fucking gimmick? What are the odds of that? So now what? He and Pelosi agreed to mutually assured destruction, all right? And so what we're going to find out is who really rules, the court of law or the court of public opinion. The people who want to take your liberty away are going to what? Here's your accusation. We made it up and fucking, oh, you're defending yourself? That means you're guilty. You're following the rule of law? Oh, you're obstructing. Whether if it's the fucking media saying that in 2016 or it's Adam Schiff saying it now in 2019. All right? And so you're either going to get Trump indictments or you're going to get coup indictments. You might get Benghazi indictments, and you might get indictments for things you had no idea they were looking at, which may be why they need every piece of that Mueller report unredacted, because they don't know what's being investigated. And this comes back to the booing and why that's important. Because as Joe Sixpack sits at home and he knows he's made a $4,500 income increase since Donald Trump has become president. From the year 2000 to the year 2016, his income went up $1,500 in 16 years. It's gone up $4,500 in 3 years. He knows for a fact that if Donald Trump doesn't get reelected, that not only are they going to take away that $6,000, they're going to take away more, and they're going to give it to people who aren't citizens of this country. And they are going after his guns. And they are going after his freedom and his liberty. And his life has never been better than it's been in 19 years right now. And elite people with $1,000 and $2,000 tickets are booing the guy that gave him the raise. And that guy votes. And that guy buys guns. And that guy, guess what? He tells his friends to vote. Because he realized what is at stake. They are going to go for the guns. They are going to go for his money. All right? And at the same time, and what's saddest in all of this is this guy, Joe Sixpack, he's a black guy. And he's happy to be fucking working, and America's the best it's ever fucking been. And all he's seeing is a bunch of white fucking liberals telling him he's wrong. Telling him he can't say whatever he wants to say. That if he speaks up against anything, he's called a coon. And that seems racist to a guy who in a million years would never, ever, ever pay attention to any kind of fucking poo-butt mark who thinks that they can simp their way in and tell someone how to live. Because that's not how men interact in the world. That's how children start revolutions, because no one would buy the bullshit of their lie. And if you want to take this further, the fact that you may believe in God, that you may have had a miraculous experience and a life-changing experience, and one day you want to share the truth of that, they're going to tell you you're wrong. Those same people who lied, patently lied the whole way down. And now with that said, how do we know they didn't pump in that booing noise? God bless America.